Hi there, this is Alex of PNW Bible Journaling here on the Creative Retreat YouTube channel, the month of May 2021 with Remarkably Vivid, written by Jeremy Whigham. And I am diving into 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 18. And I'm focusing on this reflection question that says, reflect and journal your thoughts on what true focus looks like. This button that came with the kit is what I was inspired by. There's actually an add-on stencil you could purchase with the kit that is this shutter, like from a camera, like that clicks closed to take a photo. I didn't end up snagging that in this month, and so of course I regretted that and was really inspired by this shutter pin. And I decided I wanted to create the shutter on my page. So when I was looking at the pin, what I noticed as far as like what was concrete on the image that I knew I could create was that center black hexagon. The internal portion of the shutter is a hexagon. So I just used a ruler. I eyeballed it. There is no protractor use here, no middle school geometry involved. I just literally eyeballed it. So it is by far not perfect. And then I'm just using some thin washi I had on hand because what I saw was each of those triangles, each of the lines came off of a side of the shutter. And so then I just created with the washi tape kind of these black stripes that were going to come off of the hexagon. I knew I was going to basically use this as a stencil, and I happen to have my mug handy, which is in not perfect because I didn't measure, but as far as the ratio of like hex to circle, it was about right. So I traced it and I used the edge of the mug to draw a line where I should stop painting with this just black acrylic paint that I had on hand. So that's how I knew where to stop. Once I carefully painted this in, I had to be careful not to paint on the hex because I knew I wanted to use that in the final creation. Then I put my mug back on there. Really, I probably could have just drawn that circle to begin with, and then painted the external circle, because if you look at the pin, there's a black line that runs on each side of the hex out to the edge, which also has a black circle. When I first started this, I thought I was going to color in each of the triangles with paint. As I pulled the tape off and as this developed, I actually ended up liking the black and white a lot better, and wanting the words focus on Jesus to be what was emphasized. So I decided not to paint them. If you're interested in using ink or paint, there will be in the description below some ideas of what colors you could use that coordinate nicely. I will tell you, I got to this point where all the washi came off and I was almost like, well, that's really cool. And so what I'll tell you is I'm giving you a still shot here, a freeze frame, because at the end of this, I look back at that and I was like, I could have just left it like that. I actually didn't have to do this next step here that I'm about to do, which was to attach the lines. You really could go either way. It's a bit more abstract if you don't attach the lines, and it doesn't mimic the exact button shutter that was created. So it really could go either way. You could not detach them. It was very cool as is. Or here, I just connected the external circle and then I came onto the inside and I connected the black lines. It was very easy because basically those lines I created with washi tape gave me kind of the confines. It's not perfect. If you were up close and personal, you would see all kinds of smudges, and it's not perfect, but I love it. I love how it turned out. And then what I ended up doing, I went back and forth on, should I stamp the word Jesus? Should I use stickers? But I had this word Fetty. It's just from an illustrated, like die cut illustrated faith pack, and I just put glue dots on the back. And what I like about that is it actually makes you focus on that word Jesus because it has it outlined in white. It's also popped up because I use those 3-dimensional glue dots. So you'll see that at the end in the pictures that I share. It's a little easier to see how it's like more 3D. That also lets you cover up the word on a little and you still get the effect of what the word itself says. The camera and the word focus came from the Faith-Filled Digitals. I just cut them out on basic paper along with this little blossom. And then when I glued this blossom down, I just glued the stem and I actually kept the leaves, the petals kind of 3D again popping up. And then I was able to slide a yellow blossom from the sticker pad behind it. And then I cut out the words see through the, and then and lens from the Faithful Digital. The blue eternal perspective and this yellow flower are from the kit itself. the stickers. And so what I'm doing here is I lined up JSS on the letters, and then every other circular sticker, I cut the edges off. Basically, that just reduces the length of the word rather than putting all the circles butted up against each other. It reduces the size. I also was short an S, so I used a 5. I mean, you know, looks from far away, can't even tell the difference. And then I wanted to use some of these Faithful Digitals from the paper print. I think it's page 2 of the digital set. So I printed them on clear sticker paper, and I'm gonna use the kind of squiggly and grid marks as the backdrop. You'll see I pull all this off. I kind of use some monotombo glue to create like a full sentiment, see through the eternal perspective. So it's all kind of attached so I don't lose what I was meaning. And really, as I'm doing all this like detail work, this is what I'm meditating on. This idea that I want to see through the eternal perspective. I started thinking, my sister is a professional photographer, and thinking about the way she talks about focus, the way she talks about lines in her images and the perspective that she has and how she's trying to do something unique. And I just was thinking about how eternal perspective is so unique. So what I did was I took anything that wasn't already a sticker and I ran it through this Xyron sticker maker. I have a large one. I picked this up at Goodwill. They actually are kind of hard to find the refills for now, but they make a smaller one too that's actually shaped like an X. And this one has a knob. The other one, you just pull your paper piece through and it turns it into a sticker. You also could just use monotombo glue. The nice thing about this is it sits there on this paper ready to go like a sticker. With glue, that's a little, you kind of have to do it real time, like put the glue on and put it down. This gave me a little bit more leeway to kind of move it around and hold it, knowing it was already sticky. When I put this at the top of my page, originally I had planned for the glasses and the camera to stand off the page. I decided not to do that, to keep the glasses below the page, mostly because I had turned it into a sticker, so the backside of that camera is actually sticky. I had to later go back and add something to the back so it wasn't sticky. So that's why I chose not to have more of it off the page. Otherwise, if I just used glue, I might have. These spirals, the blacks, paint splosh, and the grid come from the printables. I could have just used it on white paper. I did it on clear sticker paper. And then I was moving over the sentiment and gluing it down. See through the Jesus lens. And if you caught this, I move it around. I literally left out the key component of eternal perspective. So here in a second, you'll see me, I'm going to pull it up and actually change it around again. I went to start writing my journaling right here, and that's where I went, oh, the very thing I want to write about, I forgot, I left out. So I was looking at this shutter as kind of the Jesus lens. And then I also wanted to include that sentiment, see through the eternal perspective. So I used a little glue, corrected my oops, moved the Jesus lens over to the left. I also used those bold alpha stickers so that the Jesus lens, the colors coordinated nicely with the focus on Jesus at the bottom. I wanted those to stand out. Date stamp the bottom, add a little washi from the kit. I love to add washi at the top and bottom of my page just to draw your eye around, to tie in the colors a little bit. I add in a little bit of illustrated faith highlighter washi. It's in the pink kind of coral color and yellow. Again, just to tie the colors in. If you're just doing I could have just done that sentiment there and not had the lens and not had the top, and I could have had like a micro entry. But when I'm doing a full page entry, I like to draw your eye around the page. Here I'm just using a precision pen to kind of squiggle line the passage. I highlighted a little bit more than the study actually pointed out because I felt like the messaging was consistent. And then I just wrote my prayer. Lord, may I see people through your eternal perspective, the way you love them, with reckless abandon. May I use the Jesus lens to view the world, and may I focus on how and who Jesus is, the how of who Jesus is. How did his love get poured out on the people he was encountering? Because if we're able to have that perspective that Jesus had, to use the lens that he had of people, it's life-changing. And that's what I found in my life. That is it. It's from the Faithful Digitals, some acrylic paint, and some washi tape and the kit. So there wasn't a lot of outside resources. I hope you're inspired that even if you don't get an add-on resource like the stencil, there are still ways to create. And here you're going to see an image of the shutter before I connected the lines. It really could be left that way. I ended up connecting them. I like it both ways. You get a little glimpse of the sentiments and there you can see how I layered the letters, the use of the 5 instead of the S. I'm a bit scrappy, what can I say? That reminds me of Scrappy Wife here on the design team. Speaking of, don't miss the other entries done by the design team this month by subscribing and tuning in to the rest of the YouTube channel. Check out the description below for all the links of supplies I used. Thanks for tuning in, and happy Bible journaling.